Hey, everybody. I had a small meetup with a few photographers discussing the future of photography and about gear. And we came to the conclusion as to what is going to be the best camera for 2024. Boy, some people are going to be upset about this, but let's get ready and let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This channel is dedicated to increasing your creativity as a photographer and as a photo artist. If you are new to the channel and you get some value out of this video, do me a favor, please. And that is like the video. That helps with the algorithm with YouTube to push this out to other people. But also subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way, the next time I upload a video, which is about once a week, you'll get notified on that. Also, my email address is here at the very bottom if there's any questions about anything. And if there's a topic you'd like me to cover in the near future, I respond quicker to emails sent to me rather than comments and things that are made on the YouTube channel. So again, in the show notes, you'll see my email address will be available. Also, if you'd like to support this channel, which I hope you do, and this is on a volunteer basis, please go to, and again, this will be in the show notes, but go to buymeacoffee.com/Stephen Photo Artist to make a minor donation by buying a cup of coffee. It's like $3. If you want to do more, that's up to you. But that will really help with the expense of running a YouTube channel. I would really appreciate that. So thank you very much. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's jump into our topic, and that is, how did I come up with this? What is the best camera for 2024? And it all started with a conversation I had with a small group of photographers. I was visiting my daughter and her family throughout the holidays, and I came back from Tennessee in January here back to Michigan. And it really interesting conversation. And these are veterans. These are people who have been around for 20, 30 years in photography as a business, very successful. And I've been coached well when I started in photography back when I got my interest in 2005, but I really was, making it serious in 2007. But I started gradually a little bit in the 2005 era. And I was lucky I was mentored by some very good people that helped me, and I didn't fall into certain traps that a lot of photographers are falling into right now. So this discussion, we're going to talk about the camera. I'm going to share some images with you here toward the end of this video and talk more in depth about that. But I'm going to tell you a little story and how this all started about cameras and stuff and gear per se. But a good friend of mine that I've known for about 12 years here in the Michigan area, who's been in photography much longer than I have. In fact, he started in the film days, and he started in his late 30s. I started in my 50s, so he's got huge jump on how many years he's been successfully in photography. But every time we bump into each other and we will meet for a drink or lunch, he's always whining about, oh, there's so much competition out there, and I'm not getting the work I used to get work. I just gave up on doing weddings and wah, just whining away. And I would never say this to a person I really don't know that well, but because I got to know them, I just, not literally, but I had to hit him between the eyes to sort of wake him up a little bit. And he's the type of guy that in the years I've known him, about every two and a half, maybe 3 years, but I would say between 2 and 3 years, he always would buy a brand new camera, always buy another camera and another camera every 2 to 3 years. And I never really understood that. And so when we had our discussion, it was about a particular company. I won't mention a name. It's a name, big name company. And it seems like every company, every 2-3 months, a major introduction of a brand new camera comes out. So this company was introducing a new camera and some, pretty cool high-tech stuff that were added to the camera. And it was about a $6,000 body. He's all excited. And he goes, oh man, he says, would you be interested in getting a camera like that? And I go, well, no. And he goes, well, why not? And I said, well, not that it's a bad camera. I mean, if you think about it, that most of the cameras we have today are really good cameras. But the thing is, the camera I've had for quite a while gives me 100% what I need for my jobs and stuff. And the type of photography I do. So unless my camera's broken and it doesn't justify getting it fixed or something, yeah, I would think about upgrading to a newer camera. But as of right now, the answer is no. And I'm not the type that just goes out and buys, a new camera because it's a new camera. So, the number one, and by the way, I'm the messenger on this. So don't take this, like it's my opinion. But through a lot of research that's done by other organizations and stuff in photography, the number one reason why photographers invest in a new camera is to make them feel better. And I knew that years ago, and it's like, oh, I don't need that to feel better. This is a tool for me to get my job done with clients and for personal projects. So anyway, with this discussion with my friend, I said, look, you're thinking about getting this camera? Oh, yeah, I think this is going to be a great camera. And I said, well, look, you're complaining about, competition. And I have to be honest with you, when I look at your photography, it's good photography, but it looks exactly the way it was when I first met you or got to know you, 10, 12 years ago. Nothing has changed. Nothing has evolved. And I said to him, I go, look, explain to me how that camera will improve your photography to make you stand out amongst your competition. And he just paused and looked at me and he said, wow, I can't. And I said, then why are you spending that money on a new camera? I spend most of my money on constant training and live workshops, and I do that today. I don't claim myself to know everything, and I'm always pushing the envelope for myself. And so I always make it a goal to go to a live workshop, at least one of those a year. And I'm online taking courses and stuff. And even though I've been a Photoshop instructor for like 20 years, retired in 2016, but I still teach it occasionally at different studios here in the Michigan area. I'm still pushing and learning different techniques in Photoshop because there isn't a single way of getting things done. And I'm always discovering some really cool things that I would like to try and use, in my work all the time. So I'm always pushing it. So I told him that what you really need is a major firmware update. And when I'm talking about firmware update, I'm not talking about the firmware update in your camera. I'm talking about a firmware update between the ears, and that is your education on how to use the tool that you have creatively to stand out amongst your competition. And that's what you need to focus on. And I think I got it to him because he didn't order the camera. Now, again, camera companies are not going to like that, but it's just like, why are you buying stuff just to buy stuff? It doesn't make sense. I mean, I have to justify an investment. How fast would I recoup that cost and stuff? And if it's like, well, I'm not really, then I guess I'm buying it because it makes me feel good. And I mentioned that, I'm past that. So with that out of the way, let's get back to, what we as a small group of photographers collaborated together as to what is the best camera for 2024, and in my opinion, and beyond. And let's take a look at some of the images. Are we ready for this? Let's get into it. What is the best camera for 2024, and in my opinion, beyond that? And I know some of you guys are going to get all upset when you hear this, but this is a discussion I had with other photographers, and we all came to the conclusion and agree on this. And you can find stuff on the internet that talks about exactly what we're talking about or what I'm talking about right now, and I'm going to show you some sample images. But the best camera for 2024 is the camera that you already own. Now, I know there's going to be exceptions, like if your camera's broken or you're just new to photography. If I was brand new to photography right now, I would be buying a used camera. I wouldn't invest in a brand new one yet because you don't know if you're going to really like what you're doing and what you really need as a photographer, the style that you're going to do. Does my camera meet that type of work? So what I would do is take a guess at what you would need as a used one. And then as you build your experience, you'll discover, okay, I'm now ready for a new camera. Here's what I'm going to get. And so I'm going to share some images with you on the cameras that I've owned. And I purposely pushed out some of my old cameras I've had and used it. And we're going to talk about that. So again, the best camera is the one that you own right now, because cameras for the last 5-6 years or so have been really great. But even further back, they still get the job done as long as it meets your needs on the type of photography that you're doing. So let's take a look at some images right here. This image I did about a year ago, and it's just me playing around. And that is, well, let me see if I grab the camera. This is my Canon 50D right here. Hopefully this shows up okay. And this camera, let's see, I bought this, I had to write this down, so hold on to this. 2007, in the fall of 2007. So this is already what, 16 years? Because it's going to be 17 years toward the end of 2024. And also I'm using on this camera, the Nifty 50 by Canon. And I got this at a trade show back in 2007 for $89. Normally sold for $99 and got it for $89. And I've used this lens numerous times over the years. And again, the lens is 16 going on 17 years later this fall for me. And let's take a look at a couple images that's used with this camera. And this one I did a year ago because I just pulled the camera out and it's just playing around with different stuff. And because of the way softwares are now today, unbelievable that this camera can only go up to 3200 ISO. The megapixel file size is 15. So it's more than enough that I really need for projects and stuff. But anyhow, so when I took this picture and I just threw it into Camera Raw in Photoshop and did a little cleanup. The only thing I did was I added some vibrance, did some noise cleaning up with it, and recropped it a little bit. And that was it. And there you go. And with that lens, nobody would know that that was shot and photographed with a 17-year-old or 16-year-old camera with an inexpensive lens. I mean, it just, good luck on that. You're going to, you'd have to guess at what camera was that used. People don't do that, really. So the point is, it's how you use the camera and how you actually process it. And again, using your camera creatively. Let's take a look at something I was actually invited to by one of my students. And he had hired a model for about 3 hours at a studio. And he told me to bring my camera. And I've shot this model. Her stage name is Minerva Moon. Great gal. I've had her in different classes numerous times over the years, maybe about a 3-year period, if not longer. But I wasn't there to photograph her, right? But I just brought my camera because he was new to the studio, didn't understand how to use the lights. So I was there to coach him and stuff. Anyhow, I jumped in and took a half a dozen photographs. And I sent them to her. And this was, I don't know why, but one of her favorite images. But again, I'm shooting that with, a camera that's going to be 17 years old and a lens that I bought is going to be 17 years old. And nobody would know that unless I told them that. The point is, how do you use the tool creatively to get the job done? That's all. I mean, you would know if that was a $6,000 camera I used or some used thing that I bought, years ago. Again, it's how you use the tool. She wanted some detail shots, so I did this as a little mock-up for her, which she really liked. But again, I'm just doing things creatively and using a camera that a lot of people would say, oh my gosh, that's so old. Why would you even use that? It still gets the job done. That's my point. Let's take a look at this. Now, I'm going to show you the camera here. I had the original Canon G1X, G1X. This was actually, I'm trying to think when I bought this, G1X Mark III. This is 2017. So this is the camera. This is my travel camera. I don't like when I go on vacation to take, a full frame camera and lenses and all that stuff. This will fit in a little fanny pack that you wear around your belt. I think they call it still a fanny pack. But I can, whip it out. I can go into places where, quote, professional photographers can't. This shoots 24 megapixel RAW. It's a great camera. It's got a pop-up flash right there, and that's what I use in this image. So let me talk about this image really quickly, because again, it's how you use the tool creatively, and we need to zoom in on that a little bit so we can see that better. But we just had dinner. I was walking across a boardwalk going to a beach in Florida, and the sun was going down. I go, oh man, I got to grab a picture real quick. And there's people walking by, so I only had like a few seconds to set this up. So I actually set it to manual mode, metered it in the camera for the background for the sunset, used the flash, popped it up, it uses TTL, and just took the shot. That was it. Let's move on. I had 6 feet from them. I was leaning backwards almost against the railing in that, because that's how wide the walkway was. But a darn good picture with that camera. And again, it's knowing how to use it. I get people that saw that and go, how did you take that? Did you use off-camera flash in that? Well, no, because I'm on vacation and I'm traveling and it's just straight on, But if I had time to do something creatively and I was being paid for doing something, okay, I would do something a little bit different. But again, people kept walking by. I didn't want to block, the people that were going to the beach and stuff. But again, it's not the camera, it's how you use the camera creatively to get the end result that you need. Here's another one. I just did this last year in 2023. Went on a trip to Moab with my daughter, spent a little time. I hadn't been on a trip with her exclusively for 22 years. And it's just sort of a bonding time with each other, because I'm in Michigan. She's in Tennessee with her family and husband. And I don't get to see them that often, a handful of times during a year. But this was a special trip for me. Anyhow, we were on a thrill ride through Moab. It was like a oversized Jeep. Actually, it was a Hummer, General Motors Hummer, customized, whatever. It was a group of people, and this. And the guy freaked out, stopped, and said, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen this in years." And it was a full moonrise as the sun had set. And it was actually what they called a sunset tour of Moab and stuff. It was like a thrill ride. But anyhow, everybody had their cell phones out taking pictures. So I grabbed the G1X Mark III and I took that shot. And that's exactly, again, raw file, and it shoots 24 meg. The point is the raw files are very flat looking when you pull it out of the camera into your like Photoshop or whatever editing software you use. So I just had to bump up the vibrancy a little bit. I readjusted the crop to straighten it out a little bit. And I think that was about it. I pulled up the just shadows a little bit in there. This, by the way, there's this, I'm not a landscape photographer. The way you see the sky, that's the way it was. It was like this deep blue, and it's just, I've never seen colors like that in the horizon. I think it has to do with the Moab area, where there's some yellowish oranges and stuff like that, and reds in the rock. Maybe that's the way it reflects in the atmosphere. I mean, I have no idea. But the point is, this image meant so much to me because it reminded me of that trip with my daughter at this special place in a very unique situation that happens once in a while in Moab with a sunset along with a full moonrise. That I had a 32 inch by 48 inch, so 4 feet wide, large canvas print put in the wall of my den. And every morning when I have coffee after breakfast, I sit there and it just reminds me of that trip. So again, I'm not a landscape photographer. There's nothing major, big and special about this picture other than the memories for me. But the point is, here I'm using a point and shoot camera, 24 meg, more meg than I need, and it could easily handle a large print like that, canvas print, and it came out gorgeous. So my point is, cameras that shoot 30, 40, 50 megapixels, I don't need that. It's ridiculous. It's an overkill. If you do an event, the last thing I want to do is have huge files like that. Now, I know there are some commercial photographers out there that having, the big megapixel is a big deal for them. I get it. But, most of us internationally are not commercial photographers with big commercial clients to have that type of resolution in a camera. So if I had a camera that shot 50 megapixel, I wouldn't even shoot at 50 megapixel. I would do a small raw file. But then why did I spend the money on a camera that shot 50 megapixel? It doesn't make sense, So again, take it with a grain of salt. I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to buy a camera or whatever. That's up to you. But the point is, I'm using a camera I bought in 2017. So it's about 6 years old now, going on 7 later this year. And it gets the job done. Okay, let's take a look at this image. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised at this image. Excuse me. I have to take a little swig of water here. I was at Disney World in Florida a few years ago with my grandkids and daughter and son-in-law. And this is the part of Disney that is dedicated to Star Wars. And so I took this photograph, and in my mind, I had an idea what I wanted to do. So when I took that, this is what I ended up with creatively as an end result. And the image, when it was printed out, just came out awesome. And this is something that my grandson, who is, he loves Star Wars and stuff. And so this is mainly for him. It's just a personal project. But what's important to know is that this photograph was taken with a cell phone. All right, are you ready for this? A Galaxy S8 cell phone that I've had for, I think it's like 6 years now. And I'm not the type that goes out and buys a new cell phone every 2 years, because I've discovered something with cell phones and why I own a cell phone. I make phone calls with it. I receive texts with it and deliver texts with that. Check my emails. Occasionally go online to check some things. And once in a while, I use it as a camera. But that's it. I don't use a cell phone as a camera much at all. But again, the best camera is the camera that you have with you. I've heard that phrase so many times. In this example, I just pulled my cell phone out real fast and said, I wonder, with an old cell phone, what I can do. And if you saw that, and I've had photographers that looked at that and just like, wow, that's really cool. Obviously it's a composite, and they saw the before image right there. And of course, when you're showing this to photographers, the first thing they always ask is, ooh, what kind of camera did you use and what lens? And then when I said a cell phone and the Galaxy S8, their jaw drops. And so what I'm trying to emphasize here to you is, again, most of the time, it is not the camera that is the issue. It's knowing how to use the camera that you have, and then how to use it creatively, and then maybe how to do your post-production work in whatever software that you prefer to use creatively to come up with the end result that you want. So hopefully you've learned a lesson here that, when somebody introduces a new camera, everybody gets all excited about it, and you'll see all the influencers are out there because they're getting compensated to show you the camera and that kind of stuff. And the camera companies want those people to have these cameras to showcase you because they want you to buy the camera. And that's great if you have more money than you know what to do with, and you just buy cameras because you like to buy cameras. Okay, that's fine. But really, when it comes down to your work, is that camera really going to make you a better photographer? How is it going to make you a better photographer? That's what you got to ask yourself. And if you really look at it and go, well, it's really not going to change and improve my photography at all, it's still going to look the same, then why invest in something? It's like I heard one of the photographers said, yeah, it's like, Steve, it's like buying a Lamborghini and bragging that it can top over 200 miles an hour. Where can I drive that car around town legally? I can't. But it makes me feel good that I've got a Maserati or something, right, to drive around with. Ooh, look at me, I'm cool. Got this, fancy car, sports car or whatever. But, where I live, it's a small town. In the city, it's 25 miles an hour. On the outskirts, it goes at 35 to 55. Big deal. So it's like saying, oh, my camera shoots 100 megapixels. Well, I only need something in the 15 to 20 megapixel range. Why do I need to invest in something that shoots that high? And again, I do understand some people want a medium format camera, 100 megapixels, dynamic range a little bit better is for commercial photography. I get it. Okay. But that's not the most of us. So here's the challenge. Okay. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. And again, I'll just do this quickly. Please like the video, subscribe if you have not subscribed, hit the notification bell. That way you'll get notified. But again, what I want you to think about is, grab an old camera that you have. Maybe you don't have an old camera. Grab your cell phone. I don't care. Go out and try to do something creatively with it and see what you can do. Because really where you need to invest and spend time to get better in photography is in courses, classes, going to live, classes. I mean, I don't know why, but hands-on live classes is like icing on the cake for me personally. I get the most out of that, even though, I prepare for it with online training. But I want you to take anything that you have that might be old. Again, if you're new to photography, you may not have something old, but try to grab something that you've had for quite a while and think creatively out of the box. Literally, again, think out of the box. Go out there and shoot and see what you can do with it. Okay, till next time, see ya.